immediate threat of the Iranian regime's nuclear capabilities, and then brokered a ceasefire between Israel and Iran, which continues to hold. Then, the president traveled to the Netherlands and achieved a monumental win for the United States and the NATO alliance by getting our allies to dedicate 5% of their GDPs to military spending. As a result of President Trump unleashing American energy dominance, summer gas prices are at the lowest they have been in 4 years, heading into the July 4th week. And with the incoming Trump economic boom, the stock market continues to roar back, with the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ both hitting record highs. And on this point of an economic boom, I bring to you original correspondence from the President of the United States to our Fed Chair, Jerome Powell. As the president has consistently stated, the American economy is booming. And there were so many economic analysts who said that this president's policies would drive our economy down, when in fact we have seen the opposite. We've seen a massive deregulation campaign take place. We've seen inflation completely diminished from where it was under the reckless spending and the bad policies of the previous incompetent administration. I would remind the Fed chair, and I would remind the entire world, that this is a president who was a businessman first, and he knows what he is doing. He has a proven economic formula that worked in his first term as president, and it is working again. The one problem that remains is high interest rates for the American people. The American people want to borrow money cheaply, and they should be able to do that. But unfortunately, we have interest rates that are still too high. So the president sent this note to the Fed chair today. And if you look at this chart, this is a chart of all of the interest rates of many countries throughout the world. At the top is Switzerland. They're only paying a quarter for interest rates. Cambodia, Japan, Denmark, Thailand, Botswana, Barbados, Taiwan, Bulgaria, Cuba, Sweden, Morocco, Cabo Verde, South Korea, Algeria, Canada, Albania, Libya, Malaysia, China, New Zealand, Trinidad and Tobago, Czechia, Bolivia, Australia, Costa Rica, the Bahamas, Kuwait, Papua New Guinea, Bosnia, United Kingdom, and the UAE are all paying lower interest rates than the United States of America, which has one of the hottest and strongest economies in the world. The president sent this note to the Fed chair. It says, "Jerome, you are as usual too late. You have cost the USA a fortune and continue to do so. You should lower the rate by a lot. Hundreds of billions of dollars are being lost, and there is no inflation." And the president is right. There is historically low inflation thanks to his policies. And we will continue to drive down the cost of living in this country for Americans. We will continue to deregulate. And it's also incredibly important that we pass this one big beautiful bill, which is the largest tax cuts in American history. And that's why the White House and the president himself have been in touch with lawmakers all weekend long to get this bill passed. And they are working very hard to do so. It remains a top priority for the president. And this bill has exposed the clear differences between Republicans and Democrats in 2025. The Democrats are doubling down on craziness and radical policies that are undermining the very fabric of our country. Just look at the Democrat nominee for New York City Mayor, Zohran Mamdani. He's a Democrat socialist, really a communist, who proudly calls to defund the police, peddles anti-Semitism, praises pro-Hamas groups, wants Israel abolished, and believes wealthy Americans should not exist. Those are his words, just as recent as this weekend. Meanwhile, under President Trump's leadership, Republicans are fighting tirelessly for everyday middle-class working Americans who re-elected this president, and we're carrying out a revolution of common sense, and all of that is packed into this one big beautiful bill. It delivers the largest middle and working class tax cuts in U.S. history. It keeps America safe by funding the largest ever one-time investment in border security. It's enough to reverse the Biden border invasion. And every single Democrat is against that, against securing our border and deporting millions of criminal illegal aliens. The one big beautiful bill also strengthens and protects Medicaid benefits, despite what Democrats are saying, for eligible American citizens who rely on it, like pregnant women, children, seniors, and people with disabilities, by eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse that threaten to destroy this program that was intended for the most vulnerable in our society. And every single Democrat in Congress is against rooting out that waste, fraud, and abuse, and blocking the 1.4 million illegal aliens who are currently improperly receiving these benefits that should be going to American tax-paying citizens. The Democrats in Congress are more concerned with defending illegal aliens than they are hardworking Americans. And the big, beautiful bill also revitalizes our military and enhances our defense capabilities, protects our country from emerging new threats by funding a cutting-edge missile defense system called the Golden Dome. And as we all know, the one big, beautiful bill makes the Trump tax cuts permanent. The White House and the president are adamant that this bill is passed and that this bill makes its way to his desk. Republicans need to stay tough and unified during the home stretch, and we are counting on them to get the job done. So with that, we will take up questions. John Fredericks is in our new media seat today. John, thanks for being here. We'll kick it to you.
Thank you, Caroline. Let's get to the one big, beautiful bill first. It appears now you're going to get at least 50 votes in the Senate. There'll be some amendments. What is the president's confidence level in getting 218 votes in the House by the end of this week in order for him to sign it on Friday?
Well, look, we are very well aware, the president is very well aware, that this bill needs to not only pass out of the Senate, but it needs to go back to the House, and we need the full weight of the Republican conference to get behind this bill, and we expect them to, and we are confident that they will. The president has been working hand in hand with Senate Majority Leader Thune and also our House Republican leader, or the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, both of whom will be at the White House today to meet with the president yet again. I believe they were here this morning, actually.
I have one follow-up.
Sure.
You outlined Jerome Powell and the note that the president just sent to him. There are many who believe that Powell has been politicized in a lot of different ways. The president has not been shy about acting on things that he believes in. Why not just fire Jerome Powell and put in somebody that is going to lower rates? Why wait?
Well, it's a good question, and one you can ask the president, because that's a decision for him to make. But you're right to point out the politicization of the Fed, and it's very unfortunate for our country. But Jerome Powell cut rates numerous times ahead of the election when Joe Biden was in this Oval Office, but now he refuses to, and the economy is in a much better place. So there really isn't a good explanation for that, and the president is rightfully calling attention to it.
Thank you.
Kelly.
Good afternoon. On Iran, the president posted on his social that he is not even talking to them anymore. When we were at NATO, he said he expected the U.S. and Iran to have talks as early as this week, and that he might even want to see a written agreement. What is the update now if he's saying he's not even talking?
So as I told you from the podium last week, I said the administration, and namely our special envoy Steve Witkoff, has been in communication both directly and indirectly with the Iranians. That communication continues. The president himself has not talked to Iran, which he pointed out in his truth statement. Peter.
Thank you, Caroline. Does President Trump want Zohran Mamdani deported?
I haven't heard him say that. I haven't heard him call for that. But certainly he does not want this individual to be elected. I was just speaking to him about it and his radical policies that will completely crush New York City, which is obviously a city that the president holds near and dear to his heart.
There's this Congressman, Andy Ogles. He wants the Attorney General Bondi to explore denaturalization proceedings because he thinks Mamdani could have misrepresented or concealed material support for terrorism based on rap lyrics he wrote in 2017. Does President Trump think this is a worthwhile use of the Attorney General's time?
Well, I'll let the president speak to that. I have not seen those claims, but surely if they are true, it's something that should be investigated.
And could President Trump see himself, you said you just talked to him about this, could he see himself working with a mayor, Mamdani, somebody who, on Meet the Press this weekend, was given 3 chances to condemn the phrase globalize the intifada, but he couldn't?
Yeah, look, the president is always willing to work with everyone. He's working with Democrats across the country, Democrat governors, and he said he'll work with people on the far left. He works with Republicans. He works with people in the middle. He wants to do what's right for America, but surely someone who holds these values and is quite literally a communist and condemns every value that makes this country great. Common sense, law and order, low taxes, working hard, and earning your keep in this country. He's against all of that, and I think the president would find it difficult to work with someone like that. If he is elected, I'm sure you'll hear more from the president on that, but we'll have to see. Hopefully the voters of New York City choose wisely. Sure.
Thanks, Caroline. The President on Friday said that he was hopeful of a Gaza deal within the next week. Can you give us an update on any progress towards that, and on any talks that the White House is having with Israel on that?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Well, I know that Mr. Dermer is in Washington this week to meet with senior officials here at the White House. I also know that this administration is in constant communication with Israeli leadership, and the president himself speaks frequently, as you know, to Prime Minister Netanyahu. But this has been a priority for the president since he took office, to end this brutal war in Gaza. It is because of this president that humanitarian aid is being brought into the region. It's heartbreaking to see the images that have come out from both Israel and Gaza throughout this war, and the president wants to see it end. He wants to save lives, and however, the main priority for the president also remains to bring all of the hostages home out of Gaza. As you know, his tireless effort has brought home many of the hostages, including all of the American hostages who were held there. So he wants to see both things happen, and we're continuing to work very hard to do those things. Sure.
Yeah, thanks, Caroline. What is the White House's response to Senator Tillis's criticism articulated from the Senate floor yesterday, in which he said passing the big, beautiful bill would betray President Trump's promise to protect Medicaid?
Well, he is just wrong. And the president and the vast majority of Republicans who are supportive of this legislation are right. This bill protects Medicaid, as I laid out for you, for those who truly deserve this program: the needy, pregnant women, children, sick Americans who physically cannot work. And what it does is it ensures that able-bodied Americans who can work 20 hours a week are actually doing so, and that will therefore strengthen and protect those benefits for Americans who need it, as well as cutting out the waste, fraud, and abuse, as well as getting 1.4 million illegal aliens off of the program. So all of those measures are actually going to protect it for those who need it. That's the president's position, and that's what this bill does, and that's why Republicans need to vote for it and get it to the president's desk.
That kind of criticism from a Republican senator, is that reason for concern for the passage of this?
No, it's not. We're confident this bill is going to be back at the White House by the 4th of July. Stephen.
Thank you, Caroline. Two questions. On the New York mayoral race, does the president plan to make an endorsement? And secondly, on Jerome Powell, a lot of the focus obviously has been on interest rates and him keeping them high, but a new controversy erupted today. My colleague first reported that he's facing Chairman Jerome Powell is facing accusations of lying to Congress, which is a potential crime, about luxurious details of the Fed's $2.5 billion renovation project. Senator Loomis has called attention to this. Some experts want him to be investigated. Does the White House want these allegations investigated and, if found substantiated, punished?
I'll have to take a look at those allegations, and I will raise them to the president's attention and let him speak on them himself. To your first question regarding the mayoral race, the president was asked that yesterday by Maria Bartiromo. He refused to give an endorsement, so you won't get one from me at this podium unless he wants me to do that. Philip, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Sure. And then I can go to you.
Cool.
Thanks.
Thank you. The president said that he's working on a temporary pause for immigration enforcement in certain industries. I'm wondering what you can tell us about how he's determining which industries are deserving of a pass. He mentioned farmers, but what about, say, construction workers? I mean, shouldn't there just be one standard here?
I don't have any more details to read out for you, but what I can tell you is that the White House is working closely every day with the Department of Agriculture as well as the Department of Homeland Security when it comes to workforce enforcement, worksite enforcement, and the president's focus and the focus of this administration is, of course, to remove public safety threats from the streets and to deport as many of the illegal criminals, especially the violent criminals that we know are still here because of the previous administration. So that's the main priority and the goal.
And then the president has already made cuts to the office of the Director of National Intelligence, but now Senator Tom Cotton has put forward a bill that would cut the office by another 60%. What's the president's reaction to that legislation, and is this something that he would support, those additional cuts?
I don't know if the president's even aware of that legislation, but I will get you a response if he is aware and if he wants to respond to it. Go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline. You mentioned the dangerous wildlife at the alligator Alcatraz. Is that a design feature? Why is the president going with this mega bill in such a precarious position in the Senate? And then also, can you talk about the CBO estimate that it would add about 11 million uninsured?
Well, look, when you have illegal murderers and rapists and heinous criminals in a detention facility surrounded by alligators, yes, I do think that's a deterrent for them to try to escape. We do know that some of these illegal criminals have escaped from other detention facilities, like one in New Jersey, which I know was recently reported on. So, of course, we want to keep the American people safe, and we want to remove these public safety threats from our streets, and we want to effectively detain them as best as we can. As for why the president is going, I think his trip to this detention facility actually underscores the need to pass the One Big Beautiful Bill, because we need more detention facilities across the country. The last administration let in nearly 20 million illegal people from all over the world, and this administration is focused on arresting and detaining them. But in comparison to that 20 million illegal criminal population in our country, we only have 7,000 ICE agents in the interior who are doing this very important work. And so we obviously need more personnel, we need more resources, and that's why we need to pass the One Big Beautiful Bill.
On the CBOs.
Go ahead. Yes, in the pink.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can you please share some details of China trade deal? Has the U.S. agreed to ease some export, technology export restrictions?
Sure. Well, the final language that was agreed upon in both Geneva and in London was signed just past week. We can get you that final text of the agreement. Go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline.
Eamon, and then behind you.
Okay, thanks, Caroline. So on Jay Powell, has the president got a short list of who he wants to see as Jay Powell's successor, and is he going to name a successor as early as this summer?
I won't get ahead of the president on any announcements on that.
Does he like Scott Besson for the job?
Again, I won't get ahead of the president.
And on TikTok, if you could, real quick, he said yesterday he's got a buyer, but the question there is, does he have a seller? And do you have any indication from the Chinese government that they've authorized a sale of TikTok to the U.S. or to U.S. buyers?
What I can tell you is that these discussions with China regarding the sale of TikTok have been ongoing at the highest level, and they will continue. As you know, we have another 90-day extension, and it's just to continue to work out this deal and make sure that TikTok stays on for the American people. That's the president's main goal in this, while protecting their privacy and their security. Behind you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. The president has been calling for a deal in Gaza for 2 days and many posts. Who is blocking the deal? And one other thing, when he posted on Netanyahu's trial, also he said it interferes with the negotiations on Iran and on Gaza. What did he mean by that?
I'm sorry, to your second question?
When he posted about the Israeli Prime Minister trial,
yes,
he said it interferes with the negotiations on Gaza and on Iran. What did he mean by that?
It interferes because it physically and logistically was interfering. The Prime Minister was slated to go to court last week when he's in the middle of negotiating a peace deal and bringing hostages out of a war-torn region. And so the president was simply, I think, emphasizing his empathy that he has for Bibi Netanyahu and seeing him go what he's going through with his own judicial system in the state of Israel. Clearly, the president knows that very well. He, too, was a victim of a judicial system that was trying to put him in jail, as you all know. You all covered it. But President Trump prevailed. That's why he's back in the Oval Office, and he believes that Bibi Netanyahu is a great leader for the people of Israel. The president just worked with him closely to end that 12-day war and to obliterate Iran's nuclear facility, to take out that imminent threat, not just to the state of Israel, but also to the United States of America and the rest of the world. And he believes that Prime Minister Netanyahu should be praised for that. Go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline. On the mega bill and the amendment that would limit Medicaid expansion under the Affordable Care Act, does the president want that amendment to pass?
The president wants this bill to pass. Meredith.
Hey, thanks, Caroline. On trade, we have this looming July 9th deadline coming up. We heard the Treasury Secretary say that he expects to wrap up these trade deals by Labor Day, but when President Trump was asked yesterday about any extensions by July 9th, he said, I think that would be necessary. So is the president ruling out any extensions on trade for any nations, even if they're negotiating in good faith?
Well, you heard from him directly. He said he did not think that it would be necessary. He is going to set the rates for many of these countries if they don't come to the table to negotiate in good faith. And he is meeting with his trade team this week to do that. Mary.
Thanks, Caroline. I just watched a CNN segment on a new app called Ice Block, and it kind of appeared to be promoting this app where you can tell people where ICE agents are. Given the recent rise...
An app that tells people where ICE agents are?
Yes. And given the rise, I believe 500% increase in assaults on ICE agents, I wanted to see if you could comment on that and why CNN would be promoting such an app.
Well, it's a very good question. I'll have to go back and watch the clip myself, but surely it sounds like this would be an incitement of further violence against our ICE officers. As you know, as you've stated, there's been a 500% increase in violence against ICE agents, law enforcement officers across the country who are just simply trying to do their jobs and remove public safety threats from our communities. And that's something we as Americans, including journalists at CNN who live in many of these cities where illegal aliens are hiding and were let in from the previous administration, should be very grateful for. So we haven't seen the clip. We'll take a look at it, but certainly it's unacceptable that a major network would promote such an app that is encouraging violence against law enforcement officers who are trying to keep our country safe.
Caroline?
Shelby.
I just wanted to get a clarification on the Senator Rick Scott's amendment. It sounds like the president is agnostic about whether it's attached. Is that accurate?
Look, I'm not going to get into the details of the discussions that are ongoing right now, but the president wants these senators to come to a conclusion, to get this bill back to the White House as soon as possible and make sure that it's a piece of legislation that can make its way back through the House as well. So obviously there's some ping-ponging between both sides of Capitol Hill right now, but that's why Senator Thune and Speaker Johnson are working with the president in lockstep every step of the way. In the back, News Nation, go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline. The president did
and then
announce.
in front of you, yes.
In front of. The
Sure,
president
I'll take
did,
both of you.
The president did announce last week that the trade deal with India is closed and this could happen anytime soon. Are there any roadblocks as of now? Are there any updates on that? And how does the president see this about China's role or its influence in the Indo-Pacific region?
Sure, yes. The president said that last week, and it remains true. I actually just spoke to our Secretary of Commerce about it. He was in the Oval Office with the president. They are finalizing these agreements, and you'll hear from the president and his team, his trade team, very soon when it comes to India.
And on China? How do we counter China on that front?
Yes, I mean, look, India remains a very strategic ally in the Asia Pacific, and the president has a very good relationship with Prime Minister Modi, as you know, and he will continue to have that. Go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. On the reconciliation bill, Senator Tillis from the floor yesterday seemed to suggest President Trump was getting bad counsel on the effects of the bill. Is President Trump aware of the analyses, and there are several of these, that suggest if rural hospitals potentially close, if there are Medicaid patients in the millions that become ineligible for that?
Yes, and that claim is just simply untrue. Rural hospitals comprise 7% of all hospital spending on Medicaid, and that illustrates that they have not benefited from the massive increase of waste, fraud, and abuse under the Biden administration. So this bill strengthens Medicaid. It will protect those benefits that hardworking Americans need, and that's why the president wants this bill to pass. The senator was wrong. The president put out a Truth Social post addressing it, and then the senator announced he's no longer running for office anymore. So I think that case has been closed, and the White House is continuing to focus on getting this legislation to the president's desk for his signature.
Secrétaire de presse Maison-Blanche, Madame Caroline l'invite qui a répondre à une question journaliste après exposé et déclaration que le fait, information que les gagnants de président République là, d'y partager point de vue également sur certains sujets. Madame, Monsieur, bonsoir, bienvenue à bord. Vous branchez Pstars FM Radio Télévision dans leur édition de Nouvelles Mi-temps journée Info 13 sur Réseau Polar chaque jour du lundi au vendredi entre 1h30 et 2h. Nous tapez suivre point de presse à la Maison Blanche parce que c'est ça l'information. Information, c'est côté que lié nous suivre et nous dit où ça s'il dans la rue on a suivre si on va pas là nous aller chercher pour nous porter bas ou dans la rue déjà pour que ça nous pas tout rester ensemble avec ou permettre que ou gon idée exactement de ensemble déclaration secrétaire presse Maison Blanche Madame Caroline Levitt qui t'a répondre une question journaliste li exposer situation t'as dit de manière générale ça qui a passé kounya là dans Sénat République là côté que gagne un bilan qui a débattre et le croit que d'ici 4 juillet bill ça a bien pour sous bureau chef l'État américain Donald Trump pour le sien. Donald qui te fait un petit en plus flexible, il croit que même s'il t'apprend 2 jours, 4 jours, 11 semaines après, il n'y a pas aucun problème du tout dans la mesure que Bill Saab, li voté en dedans Sénat République, a retourné à jouer une chambre député qui lui-même va passer dernier mais là-dedans et puis pour faire permettre de tourner une loi pour le arriver jeune chef l'État américain. Chef l'État Donald Trump également, la parole que il prend lui-même, lui annoncé un possible accord entre Israël ensemble avec Iran pour capable gagner et pour suspendre tirer coup d'armes, même Israël ensemble avec Palestine également. Chef l'État a annoncé un possible accord, un cessez-le-feu. Les va signer deal ça, il va permettre que arrive libérer 50 restes otages qui étaient restés dans le groupe Hamas là, lesquels étaient kidnappés le 7 octobre 2023 dans le pays Israël. Il représente un gouvernement israélien qui représente le Premier ministre particulièrement qui rentre dans Washington pour rencontrer avec autorité washingtonienne, autorité américaine, dans l'idée pour capable joindre information sur le processus de négociation entre Israël ensemble avec Palestine, groupe Hamas là, pour capable retirer Gaza dans l'étau que lié là à côté mon a tombé chaque jour. Dans le moment où on parle avec là, il y a un rapport qui sorti matin qui fait comprendre que pour plus petit 80 personnes qui perdu la vie dans le territoire Gaza, il y a 18 personnes qui mourent pendant que vous allez chercher la manger dans ligne qui côté que y a fait séparer manger tellement situation li critique. Il y a une quantité de personnes également qui mourent selon rapport une organisation qui défend droit monde qui présenté matin dans la cour Grande-Bretagne pour dénoncer comportement gouvernement british là qui continue à fournir des armes à pays Israël dans le cadre d'attaque qu'il a fait contre Gaza. Groupe ça aller devant tribunal et puis demander parlementaires british également pour agir contre une décision gouvernement qui décidé pour continuer voyer armes par pays Israël dans le cadre de bataille ensemble avec pays Palestine. Madame Caroline Levitt lui-même tout pendant que l'État parlé journée jeudi là, il prend contre-pied de décision chairman réserve fédérale là monsieur Jerome Powell qui lui-même n'a pas décidé pour le descendre dans Kounia là selon le président républicain Donald Trump ensemble avec madame Caroline Levitt population américaine a besoin de prêter l'argent à bon marché. C'est monsieur chairman réserve fédérale n'a parlé de monsieur Jerome Powell qui lui-même empêché ça arriver. L'économie américaine a marché selon madame Caroline Levitt qui t'a répondre question journaliste. Donald Trump son businessman il connaît très bien ça la parler là et que lui-même il gagne une idée business, il a une vision business, c'est ça qui fait la gérer États-Unis de façon ça il demandé à chairman pour que il capable libérer l'économie américaine pour que l'état pas descendre interest rate là sous administration Biden sous administration Donald Trump il refusé faire autant de questions qui posait c'est mode politique économique que chairman réserve fédérale a mené qui bloquait développement plus toujours économique que pays les États-Unis depuis arrivé Donald Trump sous pouvoir selon madame Caroline Levitt qui était même à répondre questions journalistes et madame Levitt annoncé également l'information de M. Deleveau chef l'État américain Donald Trump qui est pour la Floride là côté le pour aller dans zone Everglades là gouverneur État Floride là M. Ron DeSantis li érigé là un centre détention pour y mettre migrants illégaux qui vivent sur le territoire américain. Chef l'État américain fait comprendre que pour mettre bandits là madame Caroline Levitt enchaîné pour dire que c'est bien parce que c'est son seul route qui gagne et que espace ça li entouré avec alligator qui est capable de manger moun si toutes les fois que il t'a sauvé puisque pas gain l'autre route pour y passer. Donc si responsable sécurité déjà yo même yo occupé route de sortie, c'est une seule route entrée et sortie. Donc si yo t'a arrivé sauver dans prison ça, et bien il y a peut-être yo alligator qui est capable de manger yo. Donc yo fait comprendre c'est plus bon place que yo ka mettre moun ça pas gain moyen pour yo sauver migrants illégaux ça qui vivent dans le pays. Madame Caroline Levitt Léo pas dit 11 millions, il se dit là Joe Biden te permet environ 20 millions illégaux entrer dans le pays ça à vivre selon madame Caroline Levitt. Donald Trump qui était candidat pour président te fait promesse à la population américaine il va déporter massivement si là qui a vivre de manière illégale ici aux États-Unis et déportation massive là il commencé depuis un bon petit bout de temps côté que responsable haïtien dans la rue a cherché monde pour capable mettre dehors. 6 mois qui arrivent depuis que chef l'État li prend pouvoir, non spécialité interview que li accordé à une télévision Fox dans occasion chef l'État li très critique vis-à-vis de membres ancienne administration qui pas mené bien du tout pays les États-Unis. Il fait comprendre que Joe Biden, même s'il pas de ça l'a fait, mais il pas quoi que monsieur il était pour te permettre que garçon à compétir dans le sport avec femme, il pas quoi que monsieur était d'accord pour tout migrant illégaux ça 11 millions entrés en dans pays a, on paquet de criminels, on paquet de monde fou qui sorti Congo, qui sorti Venezuela ak l'autre encore. Il dit que kounya là, y a travail et bagay ça prend un pile temps sous pouvoir pour qu'arriver résoudre problème ça depuis que il monté sous pouvoir d'après déclaration Donald Trump. Eh bien, il fait comprendre tout petit classe plus loin, je dis son paquet monde qui gen l'idée communiste dans tête yo, l'idée socialiste dans tête yo, démocrate yo surtout, yo pas comprendre ça qui a passé dans réalité américaine. Moun ça aussi ça fait d'ailleurs ouais je dis même yo candidat qui yo gagne dans la New York sont communistes qui lié. Et madame Caroline évite pas quitter occasion passée pour le critiquer également monsieur Mandani, nous connaît qui souhaite remporter élection primaire pour élection magistrat dans la New York côté que li battent particulièrement ancien gouverneur de l'État de New York. On a parlé de monsieur Cuomo qui peut-être gagne tendance selon certaines informations pour aller dans l'élection ça comme candidat indépendant. Ça veut dire que démocrates capable gagner là deux candidats indépendants mais qui pas des moindres. Magistrat sortant n'a parlé de monsieur Eric Adams qui n'est même pas de candidat sous parti démocrate là il t'a dit monsieur t'a switch parti, il t'a changé de chemise, il t'a prêt aller jeune parti républicain mais monsieur Geleway par un petit Jean drôle il était dans le camp démocrate là le candidat indépendant pour dans cas d'élection qui prend fait là dans la New York pour t'a retourner comme magistrat dans ville New York. Oui, et Mme Caroline Levitt, il qualifie monsieur de communiste, de socialiste, et que il y a un journaliste qui même arrivé poser la question, est-ce que chef l'État pas t'a aimé déporter monsieur Mandani? Eh bien, Mme Levitt dit, il pas connaît que chef l'État a engagé dans des démarches comme ça déjà, mais seul ça qu'il connaît travail pour monsieur pas arriver magistrat dans la New York parce que son communiste, son socialiste lié, il pas aimé business, il pas aimé l'autre monde, il a demandé pour disparaître Israël selon déclaration Mme Caroline Levitt. Pardon. Alors, d'après de John Tillis Kounyala, qui lui-même c'est un sénateur républicain qui était très critique vis-à-vis de Bill qui a présenté là, ce budget national là. Sénateur républicain dit et que il n'est pas d'accord du tout façon que il a coupé une série de finances pour ça qui est le programme médical ensemble avec médicain, l'autre programme à caractère social cap aider population, autorité américaine yo fait un pile coupure là-dedans, pourtant yo coupé taxe pour l'autre monde qui déjà gagne l'argent qui pas ta besoin ça. Tillis quoi que li pas voter bill si là. Markovski déjà a voté que amendement avec démocrates ensemble avec l'autre sénateur côté que eh bien autorité yo déjà lancé yon pinga by monsieur Damsa pour dire attention si au gen malheur il a voté l'autre sénateur songez que il a gagné pour aller dans élection qui donc élection li poko fini donc il y a besoin pour aller dans élection attention. Administration américaine selon décision ministre de justice yo lancé là yon lawsuit contre magistrat Los Angeles on a parlé de madame Karen Bass. Eh bien selon décision administration en place là, il dit que madame notre transformé city Los Angeles là en yon sanctuary city et ça qui pas dans se coller ensemble avec la loi dans sens ça yo demandé pour le répondre devant tribunal dans cadre de lawsuit ça explication pour qui ça lui même il décidé pour le faire ville là a agi de manière contraire aux lois fédérales dans ça qui gagne à ouais avec monde qui illégal que membre Asio a marché arrêté dans la cour pays et les États-Unis, Californie inclus. Nous songeons pas trop longtemps de ça, il y a une série de manifestations, protestations contre décision administration américaine prend lorsque ils prennent décision sans consulter gouvernement local californien pour qu'il ait déployé garde nationale dans ce state là parce que dit qu'il y a une menace qui a proféré contre membres haïtiens qui a marché arrêté migrants illégaux en dedans pays les États-Unis inclus Californie. Il y a plusieurs sites qui ont même problème ça vient arriver gagner de monde qui a travaillé dans la question hospitality management ça nous relève hôtellerie monde qui gagne hôtel qui a manage ou bien qui se met hôtel gagner ces fermes que yo gagne charcuterie côté que yo couper viande pour vendre monde yo gagné on série de produits le mais ça les seafood là que yo vend et bien dans espace ça yo population gagne problème pour le travail puisque il y a un pile monde là dedans c'est des migrants qui sortent dans pays yo qui pourtant pas gagner statut légal en dedans pays mais patron ça yo employé pour yo travail chef l'État américain dit, puisque moun sa travaille longtemps avec conseil de citoyens, avec conseil de patrons, il est difficile qu'on y a là pour mettre moun sa dehors. Là où mettre dehors, ça dérange toute communauté qui pas jeune même service là, les moun qui pas connaît yo, c'est yo qui pas connaît job là tout qui a fait job là qu'on y a là, ça dérange yo. Chef l'État américain te promet dans ça pour font lever men tout petit suite pour moun si là qui a travaillé dans jardin, qui pas gagné résidence ou bien qui pas citizen parce que blanc américain est pas libre pour faire ça pour vous. Donc c'est comme ça, je dis là, il a annoncé que gagné un accord qui pour joindre et surtout dans ça qui gagne entre Israël ensemble avec Palestine, tout dossier ça a parlé dans la cour Maison Blanche là, je dis représentant algérien dans la cour l'ONU, bon côté pas les très critique matin, bon côté Conseil de sécurité l'organisation onusienne non, les critiques sous pays Israël qui a adopté une série de positions de guerre, l'aide que yo entré dans le territoire Gaza qui se boutait pays Palestine. Eh bien, yo fait comprendre que nous-mêmes n'a bataille, nous pas peur bataille, n'a continuer bataille, même si nous pas connaître qu'il est n'a fini avec bataille ça, n'a une solution. Donc situation c'est comme ça que li présenté pour ça qui gagne à ouais ensemble avec représentant algérien qui t'a parlé de question sécurité et insécurité ici aux États-Unis parce que gon paquet de moun qui gen zam nan men yo qui pas doué gen zam même gens tout gen de grand monde qui gen zam nan men yo pas doué gen parce que c'est des moun qui malade dans tête yo gen zam nan men yo ou comprendre qui ça veut dire pour nous finir net pour nous aller n'a faut connaître ça qui gen avec question sport là par exemple gen équipe américaine qui qualifié mais difficilement li qualifié lorsque il était remporté et série tir au but 7-3. C'était 2 goals partout dans le temps réglementaire là. Et puis gagner compétition Angleterre du tennis ça Wimbledon qui gagne pour le démarrer là. Eh bien c'est en pile américain au nombre de 35 comme ça qui a participé là dans compétition qui a été déroulée dans la coupe pays l'Angleterre était une compétition tennis 60 doigts t'as comme ça il peut arriver par réussite aux États-Unis. Le Mexique est qualifié pour les demi-finales de la compétition de même que l'équipe américaine qui s'est qualifiée également, c'est au tir au but que l'équipe américaine a qualifié mais dans la douleur après qu'elle a mené 2-1 au dépend de l'équipe Costa Rica, et bien États-Unis viennent quitter équipe là ont égalisé ensemble avec MT série à 2 buts partout. Donc il était difficile qu'on y a là si pas de gagner un troisième goal pour monter empocher 3 points de la victoire et comme pas de gagner 2 et 3e goal dans aucun camp, et bien messieurs dames allez dans tir au but fatidique tir au but là dans arrivé dans phase ça équipe américaine là li kembe en premier donc il te permettre que équipe américaine là gagner avantage à la marque mais monsieur pas arrivé profiter de avantage ça que tu gagné pendant en première mi-temps et jusqu'à deuxième mi-temps et bien il est allé dans fatidique séance tir au but jusqu'à ce que équipe américaine li sorti victorieux puisque dernier tireur équipe Costa Rica monsieur Prévalon voyé dans le ciel li voyé dans le ciel qui fait qu'on y a là équipe là a perdu match là au tir au but mais sur l'ensemble de la rencontre c'était une très belle prestation de l'équipe du Costa Rica. Nous pensons que un travail sérieux qu'a fait et comme il y a une belle équipe déjà monsieur si yo kembe comme ça pour ça nous est là nous faut comprendre que équipe ça là pour longtemps. N'a tourné au Mexique pour nous finir net merci n'a dit que sélectionneur aguerri monsieur décidé pour le mettre un jeune petit garçon s'il vous plaît qui a seulement 16 l'année il était monsieur a joué dans Gold Cup il pas démérité puisque monsieur était inscrit un goal pour équipe américaine qui t'a pas battre formation Costa Rica qui remporté du même coup la victoire et empoché 3 points. Donc c'est comme ça situation liée mes amis rebrancher Pstars FM n'a toujours porté pour plus d'informations depuis yo tombé n'a chercher yo ça qui dans la rue n'a chercher yo ça qui va pas n'a ramasser yo pour que nous capable informer population haïtienne ici aux États-Unis d'Amérique. Moi mais nous en pile nous connaît ça déjà pas vrai. Bye bye, monsieur tout le monde, une très bonne écoute. Pita, n'a ensemble avec vous pour émission Pstars Family Support, c'est moi-même seulement. Je vais regarder pour moi si patron lui-même lui gagne possibilité, même si dans le téléphone, il a fait un petit temps ensemble avec vous, amis de partout, fidèlement chez réseau Pstars FM. Merci Seigneur pour fidélité et puis n'a pas continuer remercier ou même tout pour fidélité que vous pas jamais laguer nous l'Éternel il fait nous promesses fidèle dans promesses yo il pas jamais quitter nous même les situations difficiles qu'il la pas laguer allez et pas connaît nous t'es supposé gagner Raymond Jean-Louis ensemble avec nous aujourd'hui malheureusement nous pas gagné ni Donc, nous promettons dans une prochaine sortie pour nous venir avec Raymond pour que nous puissions faire le point sur tout samedi en cette fête équipe l'Aigle Noir, monter Boston pour la fêter ensemble avec toute équipe haïtienne qui dans la cour Massachusetts, côté que équipe ça l'Aigle Noir, ils ont un groupe solide. Nous avons regardé Tommy qui a 79 l'année, monsieur est un jeune qui a une trentaine l'année environ. Donc c'est très bien l'Okembi en état au point sur tout. Donc nous disons merci à tous ceux là-haut qui ensemble avec nous. Nous souhaitons une très bonne fin de journée. Rendez-vous 10h à sur Pstars FM Radio Télévision.